Welcome to Economics Rabbit. Today we're going to be looking at the PPC curve, the Production Possibilities Curve. It's a curve that can be used to illustrate opportunity cost and a number of other things. So what is the PPC curve? Okay, well, the PPC curve is a model that shows the different combinations of two goods that can be produced when all resources are used efficiently in an economy. So in this video, we're going to be looking at the assumptions of the PPC curve model. We're going to be looking at how the PPC curve illustrates choice, scarcity, unemployment, efficiency, and economic growth. And finally, we'll examine how it can show increasing versus constant opportunity cost in this lesson. Okay, so let's begin by looking at the assumptions that this model is based upon. So all models in economics have assumptions associated with them, and the PPC curve is no different. So one of the assumptions is that the economy is only producing two goods. You might say, well, that's not a realistic assumption. Okay, in our model, we're producing what we call consumer goods and capital goods. Consumer goods are used by consumers. Bread, for example, is a consumer good. A capital good would be something like a computer that's used by a business, or a delivery vehicle used by a business. Essentially, capital goods are used by business people, consumer goods are used by individuals for their own personal use. The second assumption is that all resources and the state of technology is fixed in the short term. That means we don't have any new technology coming on stream. The amount of land, the amount of labor, and the amount of capital is fixed in the short term. And the third assumption is that we're assuming that all resources can be fully employed in the economy and that we're operating at an efficient level. So if you look at the diagram here, the diagram is showing a PPC curve. On the y-axis we have consumer goods. Consumer goods, the maximum amount of consumer goods that this economy can produce if it dedicates all its resources to their production is 100 consumer goods. Now, if they dedicate all their resources to capital good production and don't produce any consumer goods, they will produce 500 capital goods. Okay, now, any point on this PPC curve line is an efficient point. So the PPC curve shows an efficiency all along the line. It doesn't matter if we produce only consumer goods or only capital goods or any other allocation in between. Any point on the PPC curve line is an efficient point. So point A, for example, where we're producing 60 consumer goods and 400 capital goods, is an efficient point. If we were to move from point A to point B, we can do that, but we have to give up some consumer goods. These consumer goods that we give up is called the opportunity cost. So we're giving up 20 consumer goods, but we gain 100 extra capital goods at point B. Then if we move from point B to point C, again, we have to give up consumer goods, but we gain an additional 100 capital goods, and we lose 20 consumer goods. So the opportunity cost there will be 20 consumer goods for those capital goods that we gain as a result. Now, there are two other points on this line as well. For example, there's point E and point D. Point D represents an inefficient point. This is a point where we're within the PPC curve. We're not producing all our resources efficiently. There's unemployed factors of production. There's land that's not being used efficiently. Labor is maybe not being used efficiently. There's probably a lot of unemployed workers at this point, and neither is capital is not being allocated efficiently. Now, we could, of course, move from point D to any point on the PPC curve without incurring any opportunity cost. We just have to use our factors of production more efficiently. This often occurs when there is a recession in an economy, when there's a lot of unemployed factors of production. Maybe not all buildings are being used because there's not enough demand, or maybe there's not enough demand for labor and there's a lot of unemployed workers as a result. Now, the opportunity cost in this model is constant because we have a straight line PPC curve. However, we don't always have a straight line PPC curve. The next one is a bell-shaped PPC curve where it's curved. Now, the opportunity cost in this model changes. So in this example, again, we're illustrating the same thing. If we move from point A to point B when we're on the PPC curve, remember when we're on the PPC curve, this is an efficient point. Any point on the PPC curve is efficient. So if we move from point A to point B, we can do that, but we have to give up capital goods. Sorry, we have to give up consumer goods in order to be able to gain more capital goods. So in this case, we're giving up 10 consumer goods to gain 50 extra capital goods in this example. Now, if we move closer and closer from B to C, as we get closer and closer to only producing capital goods, well, the opportunity cost starts to increase. This is because not all resources that are used to make consumer goods can be used to make capital goods. So maybe not all the labor is skilled in making capital goods. Perhaps not all the land can be used to grow goods that we need, that firms need. And as a result, opportunity cost starts to increase. So when we move from B to C, the opportunity cost ratio increases. So we gain now from 30 extra capital goods, but we lose 20 consumer goods. So the opportunity cost has increased as we move closer to the end. So this is a bell-shaped PPC, and the reason it has the shape is because not all resources that can be used to make one good can be used to make the other good. Very simply, a very easy example would be maybe if you have two goods like agricultural goods and manufacturing goods. Well, agricultural goods need a lot of land, maybe manufacturing goods don't, and as a result, not all the factors of production, they don't translate across very well. Now, the final thing, again, we have point E. So we said previously, we don't right now have the factors of production in the short run to get to point E. We don't have enough land, we don't have enough labor, we don't have enough capital. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Society moves on. And if, for example, in the long run, we may end up having more resources that can get us from PPC1 to PPC2, and we move the PPC outwards. This is an example of economic growth, or what we call long-run economic growth. And, well, what drives this? So one thing that drives this could be inward migration. So you have a lot of inward migration into the economy. You have a big increase in the potential labor force. As the potential labor force increases, there is going to be more available workers, so the potential output of the economy can increase. And remember, PPC is all about potential, what the economy can potentially produce. Another reason could be perhaps those workers have the level of education has increased in the economy. Now we're having a much better educated labor force. Perhaps the standard of education in the universities has increased, or there's more apprenticeship programs that educates people, or maybe there's an improvement in technology or technological change that drives innovation and drives productivity in the economy, and that can increase the PPC curve as well. Or, for example, we gain more land. Now, that's unusual that countries will gain more land. It's very difficult to gain more land, but if the country could gain more land, that would be an example of how a country could, for example, benefit from more factors of production. But it's generally difficult. Holland has done it by developing polders. Dubai has developed an island called the Palm Island. But it's generally very difficult for countries to gain more land. So usually when countries you want to maybe improve the productivity of your existing land through fertilizing it or trying to increase the crop yields or whatever, but it's a bit more difficult. Okay, well, I think that explains the PPC curve. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you very much.